Hi everybody, welcome to CMSC389E. So this is our first informative video where we're going to talk a little bit about setup for the class and some basics for project 1. Alright, so the first thing you want to make sure you have going is the mods. So you can see here that in the bottom left I've got Forge installed, and it'll say 3 mods loaded, but really all you need is the Forge installation good to go, and this right here, this circuitry um, mod. So this is a mod specifically designed for this class, um, and we're going to be using and leveraging it for our input-output testing and submit server functionality. All right, so you want to make sure you have this set up, and if you don't have it set up, no worries. We've got some information up on the course website that you can take a look at, right? So we have a one of those sub pages called like setup or downloads or something. You just give it a click and go through the instructions. There should be an installer as well as some instructions for manual install. Um, the key there is if you see on the bottom left that you've got Forge and 3 mods loaded. For some reason, it doesn't show up here on the screen recording, but it should show up for all of you. If you have that, you're good to go, right? So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you want to do is go into single player. Now I'm going to quickly show you how you want to make um, a world for 389E, right? So we're going to be working with a redstone here, and it's neat because Minecraft actually gives you the capability to set up a world that's what they call redstone ready. So take a look. All you have to do is go into these world options here. So actually, first of all, you want to make sure you're in creative, right? Pick a name that you like. Go into more world options. You'll see that it says world type, super flat, right? So it'll usually be, well, actually, these are a lot of weird ones, but it'll usually be default. You want to go ahead change that to super flat, right? That just makes it easier for us to, place blocks and such and build structures. Um, Customize it, and you want to go down to presets and scroll all the way down to redstone ready and go ahead and click that, right? Um, and that's all you're going to need. No need to mess with any of this stuff. Allowing cheats on, you should also probably do. We'll talk more about that in a later lecture, but for now, just remember to keep the cheats on. So once you're good with that, you can click Create New World, and you can go ahead and do that. I've already created one, actually, that we're going to take a look at and use for today, but it's created with the same specifications that I just showed you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and click into it. So in this video, we're going to be covering 2 things, right? Number 1, a quick intro to Redstone, which we have additional resources for on the class website, including some light reading that I've written up and linked. That should take you through the very basics if you're totally new to this stuff, so highly recommend if you do. And of course, if it's still feeling a little weird and out of your range, please feel free to schedule office hours with either me or Ashwath. We'll be totally open to that at any point. So just go ahead and hit us up in the Discord, and we should be totally ready to help you out and pick a time that's good for everybody. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about Redstone, and then we'll go into a little bit about the basics you need for Project 1. All right, so to begin with, for most of the redstone structures that we're going to be building, we're going to need a few tools, right? And you can see this is my redstone ready world. Great, it's all sandstone, and it continues infinitely like this. Um, and that's basically all we need. It's a blank slate that we can use to build whatever we'd like, right? Um, so first things first. Now that we've created an optimal world for our projects, we're going to grab a few things. Number 1, some of the redstone components that we want. So you want to press E to open your creative menu, right? Inventory menu. Click redstone. You go in there, you see a lot of these options, right? Yeah, they're a little daunting at first, but for now we only want to mess with a few. Specifically, the redstone dust, right? Oh, and by the way, these two in node and out node, they come with the mod being installed. So if you haven't installed the mod yet, these two shouldn't show up. But once you install the mod, these two will show up. So it's a good way to check if you've installed them. All right. So you want the redstone dust. I've grabbed one of those. You want a redstone repeater, right? Go ahead and put that in your inventory as well. I'm going to grab a lamp, right? I'm going to be using that instead of the in node and out node to demonstrate some of the just I/O capabilities and the logic that we're going to be looking at. I'm also going to grab a redstone torch. This is another indispensable tool, as we'll see later. It helps in the construction of logic. Finally, I'm going to go ahead and grab a block, right? You can grab any block for this case. I like to color code all the stuff that I build. So in that sense, I like to use concrete just because, you can place different lanes of concrete. You can have one blue, quote unquote, blue redstone wire going from one location to another. You can have like a green one. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick a nice color that contrasts with the redstone for this one. But basically any block will work for this one, right? You just need something that is redstone compatible. Easiest way to test that is just to place the block down and see if redstone places on it. Okay, cool. So we've got our basic tools in our inventory to go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and do that. First things first, redstone wire, right? Here are the basics. This is how redstone wire looks when it's placed on the ground, right? Very simple. Looks exactly kind of like wire. And you'll notice that if you place it in certain arrangements, you can kind of connect it, right? It like snaps to place. Very simple stuff. You know, we can kind of create loops like this, go off in any direction we want, right? Additionally, if we place blocks like this, redstone has the ability to travel up one layer of blocks. So that's great if you want to maybe make some sort of raised redstone wire, right? You can see that the redstone wire kind of just curls up and travels up these blocks. No need to worry too much about that now, because we're not going to be going too crazy with this stuff at the beginning. So those are redstone wires. Now it has two states, on and off, right? And the way I'm going to demonstrate that to you all is we're going to go ahead and use a torch to power it, right? So by adding a torch right here to redstone, you can see immediately, it's very apparent that this wire has been powered, right? And the cool thing about wire being powered is that, okay, the redstone signal originates here from this torch, travels across the wire, and you can see that if we have a redstone lamp over here, it's not really connected to anything, right? So it's not going to be in a powered state. But if we place a lamp here, you can see immediately that, oh, okay, it's lit, right? Similarly, if we get rid of this torch, that wire is no longer powered, and you see this lamp turned off, right? That takes us to our next item, the redstone torch, right? Redstone torch can be used to power redstone wire. And it's not very apparent here, but if I go ahead and extend this line a little bit, right? And by the way, this can go on forever, but you'll see that eventually, it'll take a bit. I think it's like 16 blocks or something. Yeah, redstone wire just loses power, right? So if I place a lamp right here, at the end, you'll see that the redstone torch did not generate a signal strong enough to go over there and power the lamp. However, if I, it looks like we just barely exceeded it. So if I get rid of this block and I move the torch, the lamp one block closer, the lamp will still be powered, right? The way to circumvent this, you can see that the signal actually is visibly fading, coming down all the way here, is actually just to place a redstone repeater, right? And you want to make sure you align it correctly. This is important. This takes us to our third item, the redstone repeater. We use this essentially to do two things. Number one, to elongate or renew the redstone signal, right? So you can see that it's bright, coming down here, fades a little bit. Oh, and another important point, even though redstone signals look like they're fading, right? There is no difference between this signal, right, and this signal, other than the fact that it's fading and it's going to die out soon. They each provide an equal amount of like redstone, I guess, energy. It's a pretty binary state. They're either on or off. So remember, despite the visual differences, redstone wire can only be in two states, on or off. There are ways to check the strength of redstone signals and kind of use them to determine things, but we won't really get into that anytime soon, so no need to worry about that. Let me show you how a redstone repeater can be used to elongate or renew a signal. So we've got the signal here, you can see it's slowly dying out, and suppose we wanted to place a lamp for whatever reason all the way over here. We got a problem, the signal dies out right here, so all I can say is, oh hey, signal's about to die right here, so here's what I'm going to do. Since this one still has power coming out of it, right, let's go ahead and put a redstone repeater over here. And you can see that it goes ahead and renews the signal, right? And this is different from a redstone torch, because here's what's going to happen. If I get rid of this torch here, you can see that the redstone repeater doesn't produce a signal on its own. All it does is it renews the signal coming over here from the redstone wire. So if there's nothing coming in, nothing's going to come out. Simple as that. But if there's something coming in, it's going to say, all right, I've got a signal coming in. I'm going to go ahead and reset that to a full power for you, right? Similarly, if we have wire, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this and place another redstone torch down here. If we have wire that extends a little farther, from here, you're going to see the exact same pattern, right? The redstone signal is slowly going to fade out, and eventually die, right? And when that happens, all you need is another redstone repeater to keep it going, right? And this is a neat little construct, and a lot of people, when they're learning about this, think, okay, then why do we need repeaters anyway, right? If we can just have the Minecraft developers write some code that lets you put down a torch and have it instantaneously activate all wire in a line. Actually, the answer is within that statement. If you can really think about it, there are a few reasons you could kind of come up with, oh, I can see why Minecraft developers designed it this way. Considering that Minecraft is an infinitely generated sandbox, consider the following. Suppose you had an infinitely long redstone wire, and you placed a torch at the end of it, right? What would that imply? Well, that would basically mean that you'd have to have the torch power all those infinite blocks at once, which is a bit tough to, I guess, program in. You're going to have a lot of issues, especially if you have a redstone wire that starts here, extends this way, goes all the way out into infinity, then comes back, right, down to here. So imagine that this goes all the way out and then connects and then comes all the way back down here. And if you expect this to instantaneously turn that on, right, you might also run into some software problems. So that's just an example of a few thoughts that make this redstone extending idea kind of a little bit more realistic. But yeah, it's definitely something to consider. Now, the other function of redstone repeaters is delaying signals, right? And I'm going to go ahead and show you a quick demonstration right here. This is useful if you're trying to maybe design a signal that kind of slowly travels, right? And again, we'll see more uses of this later. I just want to point out at the beginning to make sure everybody kind of knows what happens when you right-click a repeater, right? So let's take a look. Now over here, we've got a repeater, and if we right-click it, you can see that this little torch thingy here moved right a bit. And they have different settings. So this is the default setting, 1, 2, and 3. So the default setting, actually with the 389E mod, sets the delay to nothing, right? So placing a torch over there, and I think we can just do it a little closer so you all can see the effect. Placing a torch over here kind of instantaneously turns the wire on the other side of the repeater on, right? In regular Minecraft, I believe there's also a small delay, but the 389E mod makes it so that the signal is basically instantaneous. It's like a much smaller delay than usual. But we can notice more results when we go ahead and set a delay right here. So watch, we place the torch, and you can see that it took just a little bit to light up on this other side, right? Similarly, we set the delay a little bit more, so I clicked it again. Well, I guess that might have been hard to see. Place it, and you can see that took a moment as well. Finally, in the highest setting, and you can see that took just a bit, to send that signal over. And again, it's actually kind of cool. If you break it, it also takes a second to reset, right? So that's another purpose of the redstone repeater, and we'll also be leveraging the delay that we just saw there in later projects, but no worries about right now. All right, so that's kind of a quick introduction to redstone and the general mechanics that we've got. So once again, if you have more questions on that, feel free to, the easiest way to learn about this stuff is to log into Minecraft and just learn by yourself, right? But also we've got some reading material for you on the course website, and we're happy to schedule office hours with you to talk you through a little bit more of the basics of Minecraft, just so everybody's on the same page. No worries. If you're totally new to this, no worries at all. We'll get you up to speed and going. All right, that was the first part of the video. Now we're going to talk a little bit about basics for Project 1. So this is assuming you kind of know what's going on already, right? And you've got this stuff kind of in your head. And now we're going to work on Project 0. Oh, sorry, I said Project 1, I meant Project 0, which is essentially just number one, testing that you've got the setup working. So that's probably going to be the most of your time. But once you get that working, I just want to talk a little bit about inverting a signal in Minecraft, right? Because I don't think we explicitly covered it in writing yet. So here's how you do it. All you have to do is suppose you have, and by the way, I'm doing it specifically this way because I'm leaving it up to you all to figure out how to use the input and output blocks. It's pretty trivial, but I mean, trial and error, and you'll kind of get used to it. And this is so that you don't copy block for block. So try and map what I'm putting down to the input in node and out node that are offered to you with the mod, and that'll help you with the testing and all that. So suppose we have a redstone signal originating from here, right? As I demonstrated earlier, placing a lamp right here or any output block is going to say, oh, you know what? There's a signal that starts here, coming all the way down here, and this lamp is powered, right? Similarly, in order to make sure a lamp is not powered, you could do something like this. Boop. And here we can see that the lamp over here is not powered at all, right? And this is kind of halfway to what we want. The project specification basically asks you to have one signal output that says, okay, if the input is on, then I want the output to also be on. And the other part of the specification says, okay, I want another block that, specifies that if the input is on, the block should be not receiving power. But if the input is off, I would like the block to be receiving power, right? And as of right now, we don't really know how to build something that does this, right? Because you can see here that we only have two real options. We either provide input to both blocks or we don't at all, right? There's no way to do it. So going off of our basic CMSC250 knowledge, it's kind of what we're getting at here. Essentially, what we're going to have to do is add an inverter to one of these paths here. And I'm going to go ahead and pick this path. So I'm going to show you how to build an inverter in Minecraft, right? Assuming that we want this guy to always represent the true result of this guy, and we want this guy over here to contradict what's coming out of the input, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get rid of two blocks here and go ahead and say, okay, number one, let's pick our block of choice, right? And this can be anything, including the sandstone. I'm just putting the blue here so that it's easier to see. And put a redstone torch here, right? Now this little structure might look a little strange at first, but this is exactly how you build an inverter in Minecraft, right? Notice how you've got an on signal coming out of here, and this little fancy block thing says, oh, yep, there's a signal coming to me. I'm not going to send anything out here, right? But notice, when I go ahead and remove the power source, you'll see two things. Number one, this guy has turned off, right? Which makes sense. We're not getting any signal in. But you can see here that this output has turned on. And that's basically saying, okay, I'm no longer getting power coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and provide a positive signal coming out. Once again, if we provide that signal coming in, the inverter says, I'm getting power coming in, I am not sending anything out, right? So very simple inverter in Minecraft. Again, I'm going to go ahead and build it over here so you can kind of see it apart from this little structure I put together. So again, we got the origin coming in here, a redstone signal, right? And all you do is place one block and then a redstone torch on the other side of it, just like this. Make sure, in fact, that you do it like this with the redstone torch on the block. Important note, it will not work if you build it like so. You need to make sure that the redstone torch is placed on the side of this block, right? Otherwise, your inverter will not work. And we'll take a look. We'll put the redstone lamp here. And you can see that if we cut the power coming in, boom, the redstone inverter says, all right, you're good to go. Okay, so that was the basics for project one. I think with these two kind of diagrams that I put together, you should be more than ready to provide results for project one. And again, feel free to ask any questions and set up office hours with us, and the Discord is always open. All right, thanks.